Hey guys, so I thought I would update you on my current reading status. Unfortunately, I didn't read a lot this month, or not September, but I mean August. So I'm gonna do some combining of things for my when I talk about what I read in August. Okay, so first I read one DNF, but I ended up but I already got rid of it, so I think I got rid of it, so I don't have it to show you guys. And that is Roseblood by A.G. Howard, which is a modern retelling of Phantom of the Opera. And it was okay, but it wasn't my cup of tea anymore. I mean, maybe when I was younger I would have liked it, but I've kind of been getting away from young adult fiction, and it had a lot of the cliches and tropes of young adult fiction. And a lot of times when I'm unsure if I want to DNF a book or I'm going to keep going with it, I go on Goodreads and read the reviews and stuff and see if some of the stuff that people say, if it's going to appeal to me or if it's going to be something that I'm just not going to like. It's going to get on my nerves. So I ended up DNFing it. There were a lot of elements that people talk about it had that I didn't like the sound of, and I know people should say, well, you should read it first before you decide, but you know what, I don't have the bookshelf space, and I don't have the time for that. I mean, I want to read a book, and I was losing interest in the book, so I DNF'd it, and I think it was one of the books I took with me yesterday to the bookstore to be donated. So I only finished 3 books, and one of them was for school. But I'll do that one first. And that is Beowulf. Author unknown. It's an epic poem, if you don't know, but it's a classic, so I'm sure most people have heard of it. It is about a famous warrior the poem starts off with our warrior Beowulf. He hears about this kingdom of High Gaelic being attacked by this monster that's been doing it for years, called Grendel, and he decides, I'm going to go help these people out and save them. So he fights off the monster. It's, of course, it's not easy. He struggles. He struggles with fighting the monster, and it does not, but he succeeds. And then another monster, Grendel's mother, who wants to take revenge, shows up as well, and Beowulf has to fight her, and then eventually he has to fight a dragon in his own kingdom. So this is actually a pretty good book. It doesn't help. Oh, that's right. It's the Valentine's episode. It doesn't help that I'm having to study and analyze and write a paper for it, but it's still good. It's still very entertaining. Like one of the first fantasies ever written. It was like up there with the Odyssey and the Iliad, which I have not read because I'm very apprehensive about reading it. But now I might, who knows? Since I've read this one, I might actually like those books because I was worried about the writing style and everything. It's, sometimes there's moments where you have to reread the text to understand what's going on. It's, it's hard to really, critique this book. Like I said, sometimes it's hard there's parts of it that are a little confusing. You have to reread what you just read. It's a good story. It's very entertaining. Sometimes it feels very out there, and it's like you kind of roll your eyes and you're thinking, could this guy really do that? And there is definitely no realism to the story, I feel like. Though it takes place in kind of a real setting, like inspired by a real setting. And I don't know, maybe these guys at one time did really exist, but it's definitely exaggerated. It's an entertaining, and if you're up for it, then check it out. It's an epic poem, by the way, so but it's actually not as hard as you would think it is, you know? So that was one of the books I read this month. And I also finally finished these two books, Mistborn and Assassin's Apprentice. Thanks to encouragement, non-direct encouragement from booktubers. But this was both books were good starting points for their perspective series. This is the first one, this book is about a group of, the bad guy has won. He's a tyrant now, and the people, and a group of thieves and criminals decide to help the poor people, the common people, the ska of this world, fight the bad guy, and and try to defeat him. And there's the magic system in this world is where you has to do with metals, where you swallow a metal and it allows you certain abilities, like running really fast and jumping across buildings and seeing some things happen before you actually act, and it's really cool. It's a really cool magic system. We kind of have two main characters in this first book. Kelsier, who's the leader of the group of thieves, and then he recruits a young teenage girl who turns out to be like him, a Mistborn, which is basically people that can control multiple metals, not just one metal. But this girl, she's a ska, she's lived on the streets her whole life, and she has a lot of trust issues, and she's not sure if this plan will work, and her job is to infiltrate the nobles of this world to start trouble and to distract them. And there is a little bit of romance in the story, but what I like is a story where there is romance in the story. I mean, I'll still read books where the romance doesn't exist at all. I'm fine with that, but I do like at least a little bit of romance. I just don't necessarily like it to dominate the plot, but I have made exceptions where I've read books where half the plot is the romantic drama, like Roses, for instance, which that's a book I'm going to talk about in a minute, but it's not. But I'm talking about that in a little while because it's not a book I finished. I really enjoyed this first book. Brandon Sanderson is, of course, it's not for everybody, and it's a pretty thick book. And sometimes it's in like most books these size, it's slow to get into, but eventually, as you get into it, it's really fast paced. It's a fast paced read, and I don't know if people would believe that or not because of the size of books like this, but these books really are fast paced. Maybe I'm totally off here and people don't believe that. But that's how I thought at first. I used to think that, these books would take me forever. Now, if it's something like It by Stephen King, yeah, that's going to take me forever no matter what. But it's a good book. I have, if you watched my previous video, I mentioned the second book of The Well of Ascension. It is a trilogy, and she is writing... why do I keep calling him she? It's not she. I guess I'm used to reading so many young adult authors that are females. So it's a habit. But he has written another series in this version of the world because a lot of Brandon, I say that version of this world because I just recently realized that, again, he's one of those authors who, like, all his books are kind of interconnected, are kind of the same universe. Just like Robin Hobb's books are. Like starting with Alloy of Law. Alloy of Law is that starts his next series. But the next book is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in her Farseer trilogy. This is a book about a young boy, Fitz, who is the bastard son of Prince Chivalry. But Prince Chivalry essentially kind of abandons the kid because he's a bastard, so it doesn't make him look good. And he also abdicates the throne and gives it to his brother. He has 2 brothers. And it's about Fitz. It's mostly about Fitz growing up, but he is kind of taken in by the stable master and taught how to take care of the stables and the animals and stuff. And that's where he discovers that he has what is called the wit, which is the ability to bond and connect and communicate with animals. But the stable master is afraid of that because some people have the wit have become so connected and bonded with the animals that they will become more animal-like and more beast-like than human-like, and he's afraid of that. So he tells Fitz at the age, I think he's 6 in the beginning of the book, to not use the wit. But eventually he gets another dog, and he bonds with that dog. I'll be right down! And it's kind of about him learning, and eventually the King Chivalry's father decides to foster him with his assassin, what is his name? I already forgot his name. And, Shade, who teaches him, like, little things, remembering things, and being really good at details, and learning every single little detail about every person. And he also tries to learn the skill, which is an ability to connect mind to mind with another human being. But that fails as well. But that fails, and he's better at being an assassin. And there's a little bit of first love in this story, but it's much more prominent in Brandon Sanderson's book than in this book, because he's a kid and a teenager, and it's more about him learning to be an assassin and living in the palace and everything, and not really being part of the royal family, but he is part of it, if that makes any sense. And like it's it has like court intrigue, and it's about Fitz's life, and it's a coming of age story. And the beginning is a little slow to get into, but it's a very good series, and once you get in, just like Mistborn, once you get into it, then I think you get into it. Now, of course, just like Brandon Sanderson, Robin Hobb's not for everybody, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad I got into this. I'm glad I finally got around to getting this. And I can't wait to keep going, but first I'm going to read The Well of Ascension, and then I'll read A Royal Assassin. And I already got the first book in her next trilogy, Live Ship Traders, and I put the second book on my Amazon wishlist. So, okay, unfortunately this video is going to be cut short because my mom has called me down for breakfast, because she makes breakfast when she's home for me, which I really love and appreciate. Okay, so, unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about anything else except for what I just talked about. What have you guys been reading this month? I hope, why don't you feel free to share with me what you're reading in the comment section below. And I will talk to you all later. If you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already. And like I said, I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye.